Part 78. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 771. At that moment, in the sky above the Balogo starfield surrounded by everyone, pieces of clear glass sputtered out, reflecting a dazzling luster. However, there is extreme danger in the extreme beauty, and the cultivator who is close hurriedly said, "Retreat." Countless silhouettes swept out, underestimating the cultivator who was close to the danger. The cultivation base was slightly weaker, and it was too late to exit the dangerous area. A piece of debris passed directly through the cultivator's body. At that moment, the cultivator's upper body was out of thin air. Disappeared, the lower body was still trying to escape, and then, the legs also disappeared, leaving only a quarter of the body floating in the stars. The monks who were far away gasped when they saw this scene, and explained to those with lower cultivation bases who didn't understand. The monk's body was directly cut by the space debris, and then the cut part was transferred. Other spaces. We all underestimate the danger of the birth of the temple. These space fragments are different from the turbulent voids in the void battlefield, but are equivalent to the space fragments of the barriers of our fairy and demon world, and even some space fragments themselves are hidden. One world, maybe a broken world, understand? So until the eruption of space debris stops, you must not enter it. At this moment, even at the peak of the Emperor level, you cannot survive in it. Some monks who were immersed in the beautiful scenery suddenly woke up after hearing such explanations and alertness, and their vests were soaked with sweat. Originally, they came here thinking that the big guys would eat meat. They might be able to drink some soup. Could the soup flowing out of the temple be ordinary soup? It's worse than meat from other places, but this is just the beginning. Let them know, if you want to drink soup, you have to see if you have the ability. Not one. Another monk's voice came to an abrupt end. In the short moment of the eruption, more than a dozen monks were swallowed by the space debris, and most of them fell directly before they even had the consciousness of death. This is also a huge devouring beast, a dangerous existence that swallows the lives of countless monks. Among the dozen or so cultivators, there were quite a few emperor-level bigwigs, which made many cultivators with weaker cultivations timid. The starry sky seems to be set off with crystal-clear fireworks. With the blooming of these fireworks, the starry sky becomes more and more dangerous. The space is fragmented, the starry sky is stormed, and the space collapses. From a distance, this starry sky has become a black hole. In the center of the black hole, the bright fireworks are alluring and degenerate. Suddenly, a few crystal-clear beads appeared in the middle of the fragments, only the size of a fingernail, and the eyes of the emperor-level peak monks who were paying attention to the center lit up. Empty marrow crystal. The emperor-level peak masters who came have dispatched one after another, and the target is the transparent ball that spewed out. What is the empty pulp crystal? The cultivator who was watching saw that the top bosses were all robbed, and knew that it must be a good thing. Empty medullary crystals, there really is such a good thing. Empty medullary crystals are different from space fragments. The empty medullary crystals contain pure space energy and laws. After the monks get the empty medullary crystals, they will improve their cultivation and understand the laws of space. Great help. This thing is of great benefit to the emperor-level peak monks, and the value is only above the void pill. No, it is bigger than the top-quality void pill, because the Kong Sujing is not in such an environment. Other places can be. It's hard to be born, and you can't get in and get it when you're born. It turned out to be so good, but unfortunately, there is no way to participate in the without enough strength. Therefore, even the late emperor-level monks at the scene were eager to try, but their eyes flashed with a strong color of fear. Those space fragments are so powerful that they dare not be negligent. The peak monks also need to be careful, otherwise once the treasure is not robbed too, there may also be a danger of falling. Haha, this one belongs to Lao Tzu. And Guangsheng stretched out his hand and grabbed the empty marrow crystal closest to him, But two space fragments were just sprayed out, one was guided away by him, but he couldn't do it. He wiped his body, and immediately the immortal armor and a piece of flesh and blood disappeared. Of course, a strong person is a strong person, and the flesh and blood there was completely repaired in an instant. However, in that instant, the empty marrow crystal that was about to be grasped in his hand disappeared in front of his eyes out of thin air. Meng Guangsheng was furious and wanted to the driver's wife, "Is it easy for Lao Tzu to break into these space debris? Where did you go?" At this moment, Gu Tingzi burst out laughing, Lao Meng, you are too impatient, thinking that the empty marrow crystal is so easy to catch. It's enough to see Lao Tzu." The empty medullary crystal that originally appeared near Meng Guangsheng appeared beside Gu Tingzi in the blink of an eye, as if he had deliberately sent himself to Gu Tingzi. Although Gu Tingzi laughed loudly, he was dignified and did not dare to be negligent in the slightest. The power of the law spewed out, trapped in the empty marrow crystal, and the empty marrow crystal trapped in the narrow space collided with each other, but could not escape. At this time, Gu Xiangji reached out and grabbed it, and an empty marrow crystal fell into his hand. It was good to see it, and Gu Tingyi quickly swept away. "You old man," Meng Guang was so angry that he cursed. This old man had already figured out that the empty marrow crystals would appear in that direction. He worked hard to make this old man a wedding dress. Meng Guangshen's eyes were red, searching for other empty medullary crystals, and he would never stop until he grabbed one. "Old ancestor! Congrats to ancestor!" Gu Cheng and Gu Lin ran to Gu Tingyi's side. Ancestor was so powerful just now. Others looked at the simple action, but when they saw that ancestor's face was pale, they know how much risk is taken. "Okay, you go to the back. If you don't calm down here, you can't participate. If you want me to say, you should stay at home." Honestly, Gu Tingzi held on strong, and didn't tell the two juniors. His health was almost a part is cut off, and it consumes a lot of money. Fortunately, an empty medullary crystal is enough to make up for this consumption. "The devil has no sorrow, you dare!" There was an angry shout in the air. Gu Tingzi, who had just kicked the two juniors away, saw the Tian devil emperor of the demon realm. One arm was missing, and the empty marrow product that was caught by that hand also disappeared. One arm was completely cut off by the space debris, and not even a bit of blood was spilled, and it was so clean that it violated the rules. The two top leaders from the demon world left the central area and immediately started fighting. The severed arm of the devil emperor Tian also regrew in the blink of an eye. How could he bear this breath? The other peak leaders who were searching for the empty pulp crystal also looked at the other fellows vigilantly, so as to avoid the same situation as the Tian devil emperor. The Tian devil emperor was lucky and lost an arm, but bad luck, maybe the whole person fell into it. At this extremely tense moment, not far from here, the starry sky ripples, and a space vortex appears, and something is struggling to get out of the vortex. It just so happened that there were also monks watching the place where the central space debris spewed out. They were taken aback by the abnormal situation here. "What is this? Huh? It seems a little familiar." "Gu Cheng, isn't that the alchemy relic mansion we've been to?" Gu Lin exclaimed. "Pill God's remains." "Yes, it is right at the Pill God's remains. Could it be?" Gu Cheng was also shocked. Could it be that Gu Yao and Qi Changjai came back at this juncture? "They must have come back," Gu Lin exclaimed again. Since he visited the alchemy palace, Gu Lin has actually been very obedient to Gu Yao Dong, that is, their ancestor, after leaving the alchemy palace. "Every time I mention the trip to the Yufu, I always regret it, saying that I missed it. If I followed Gu Yao and Qi Changjai, maybe I could get a piece of the pie. As for the gains of others in the Yufu, it's really just a small head." "Huh, we finally came out, it's not easy." A clear voice sounded in this starry sky, which was very different from the extremely tense atmosphere on the other side. "Who came out?" At this time, Some monks on their side paid attention to the abnormal situation here. The alchemist's palace is back. It's alchemist Gu and immortal Emperor Qi who have returned to the immortal realm, and the timing of their return is just right, haha. Gu Tingzi laughed loudly, and those who were paying attention now knew what was going on. The immortal mansion finally broke free from the vortex, and the moment he came out, the immortal mansion disappeared, replaced by two monks, but it was Gu Yao and Qi Changjai who disappeared in the immortal demon realm since the trip to the Yufu. Haha, alchemist Gu, brother Qi, you guys are finally back. Luo Yang and Hu Su flew over, and they couldn't participate in the competition for empty marrow crystals. They might as well have a conversation with Gu Yao and Qi Changjai. It's them. They actually came back at this time. It was just the legacy of the alchemy god, which means that the ancient alchemist really got the legacy of the alchemy god, and even the legacy has been accepted. That is to say, the number one alchemist in the fairy world is now the ancient alchemist. Who knows, alchemist Lu and alchemy you are not bad, and they are just one step away from becoming a top-level alchemist. Hey, can they refine the top-quality Jikuxing Soul Pill and the top-quality Void Pill? This is the ancient alchemist who obtained the inheritance of the alchemy god before entering the Yufu, and the alchemy technique must be a step further. Didn't you find their cultivation base? Both of them have entered the late stage of the immortal emperor. As soon as these words came out, there was a lot of gasping sounds. Rao felt that the two were making rapid progress, but he didn't expect that after disappearing for 100 years, it would appear in the late stage of the immortal emperor. Even some old-fashioned emperor-level masters who didn't pay much attention to their appearance. They couldn't help but cast their attention to them. This time, it was not the late emperor level, and I suddenly felt that my age was all in vain. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 772. Luo Yang and Hu Su both heard the discussion of the monks around, and the figure flying in the starry sky couldn't help but stagnate, and smiled bitterly in their hearts, evildoer. Perverted monster. Brothers are broad-minded and will never be hit by such a monster. I guessed that they would be involved with the temple when they came back, but I didn't expect that the place where they returned to the fairyland was right next to the opening of the temple. After sweeping their consciousness, they saw the space debris erupting from the collapsed starry sky in front of them. In the scene, behind the space fragment, isn't it the temple, the pill god immortal mansion they got, which they thought was magnificent and ancient, but in front of this temple, they became dwarfs and giants. It's good not to miss the opening of the temple, it seems that the time to come back couldn't be better. Gu Yao smiled and greeted Luo Yang and the others. Yeah, it seems that we are in time, we thought we would miss the opening of the temple. This time, it seems that a lot of monks. There were people who had met with them, and everyone nodded to each other. The strange monks who had never met before also swept away. The starry sky was big enough. There are tens of thousands of monks, and this does not include the monks who are still coming. They saw immortal Emperor Qianjing, they also saw the monks staying with the void beast. One of them was the master of the Juding Hall, Shen Wei, who had a deep breath. Needless to say, he was the one who stirred the storm. Luo Yang laughed. You guys, every time you see your cultivation level, you have to rise a bit, I see how far you can rise further. I can't help but slander in my heart. If you have the ability, you can become a controller and let him see it. If you don't have a controller, you can't shock him. Even if you become a controller, it's not bad. You have a controller who is a brother. The three realms are free to travel. Qi Changjai smiled faintly, the two of you are not bad, this time you can make progress, thanks to senior alchemy. The other monks left at the beginning, but Xiaoao was locked inside, and he could not meet the requirements of senior alchemy. It took a lot of time to come out. Many cultivators stretched out their ears to listen to what they were talking about. At this time, the truth of Guyao's failure to come out of the alchemy god's house was finally revealed. Sure enough, it was seen by senior alchemy god. However, it failed to meet the requirements. Can't come out, and it's harsh enough. If you can't reach it, won't you die of old age in the left mansion? Everyone was curious again. What kind of conditions did Senior Dan Shen offer? Emperor level high-level alchemist? It seems unlikely. There were only 3 high-level alchemists who entered at that time. Could it be a top-level alchemist? Thinking of this possibility, many cultivators gasped in their hearts, and their gazes towards Guyao also became hot. If he really became an emperor-level top-level alchemist, Guyao's value in the minds of many monks may not necessarily be lower than that of the temple. Luo Yang scratched his head. Haha, so that's the case. Fortunately I didn't go in with you back then, otherwise I wouldn't be able to stand being locked up for so long. Go and see what the temple looks like. Okay, brother Luo Yang, please. Luo Yang felt proud in his heart. Look, even though he is currently behind in his cultivation and has been overtaken by Guyao and Qi Changjai, they still call him Big Brother Luo Yang. How many people can get this kind of treatment from him? Luo Yang smiled so much that all his teeth were exposed. The demon cultivator who also came from the extreme demon palace couldn't look directly at Luo Yang's stupid appearance, so he couldn't help but look away, but at the same time he couldn't help but look at Guyao and Qi Changjai. At the beginning, Luo Yang's practice of leading people in the Piaoxiu Immortal territory was questioned by many fellow students in the extreme demon palace. Even if it was aimed at Immortal Emperor Yu Heng, there was no need to be so polite to the 2 cultivators who had just ascended, even if they were talented. No matter how high it is, it will take at least tens of thousands of years to grow up. Time waits for no one. At that time, there were many people laughing at Luo Yang, but when he became the Devil Emperor, he was a bit surprised. He would become the Devil Emperor, and he had something to do with these 2 people. I can't talk about it, but who would have guessed that the pace of development in the back would be completely out of control? I watched the 2 men stride forward without looking back. If it wasn't for Luo Yang's friendship with them early, and he didn't stand idly by, how could Guyao and Qi Changjai be so close to him now, making them look jealous? But it's too late to regret it. Master Gu, Immortal Emperor Qi, you are back. Flying all the way, many cultivators took the initiative to greet Guyao and the others. If they participated in the opening of the alchemy god's palace, these 2 people could get their attention, and now they have become important. They have grown too fast, and now they have become a reality. It is an important force that no one in the fairy world can ignore. In the late stage of the Immortal Emperor, one is a powerful sword cultivator, whose combat power may be no less than the peak, and the other is an emperor-level high-level alchemist, whose real strength may have reached the top-level alchemist. They will hold their own identity, but treat them equally, and even give them enough respect. Immortal Emperor Ziji looked at the 2 who appeared and smiled. Master Gu and Daiochi have finally arrived, and I am worried that you won't be able to catch up. This is the empty pulp crystal I just got, and I will borrow flowers to offer Buddha and give it to Gudan. Teacher. Immortal Emperor Ziji then flicked his sleeves and sent a box to Guyao, and explained the production process and effect of empty medullary crystal through voice transmission. Guyao was surprised for a moment, but he didn't push back. He turned his hand and sent the box in. In the space, he also gave the same gift. Guyao also has a small gift for Immortal Emperor Ziji here. In the past, the 2 of us were taken care of by Immortal Emperor a lot. Thank you, Immortal Emperor. Immortal Emperor Ziji was not polite. He waved his hand and rolled the thing in front of him. His consciousness swept away, and he showed a satisfied smile, and the 2 sides were very happy. Xiu Tu, who has a good relationship with Immortal Emperor Zig, secretly scolds this old thing for being too cunning. Just now, someone else swept what was in the box. It was a top-level healing pill. It can be said that the next temple, the trip to the temple, is of the greatest value. The trip to the temple is a peak emperor cultivator, and he will face the threat of death at any time, but having such a pill is equivalent to an extra life. No matter how valuable the empty medullary crystal is, at this time it is really not as good as the pill that Gu Yao shot. The appearance of this pill also shows that Gu Yao's pill technique has been promoted to the top level, and the pill must have come from him, rather than the reserves in the relics of the alchemist. Immortal Emperor Ziji is the palace lord of Xian Huanyan. Gu Yao and Qi Changjai knew about this person for a long time, but in reality, this is the first time they have met. Immortal Emperor Ziji is the boss of Xiangxia Palace. Of course, also participated in the Void Beast battlefield, but this kind of boss usually does not show up but hides behind the scenes, playing the role of suppressing the field. Gu Yao and the others are fascinated, and Immortal Emperor Ziji has also paid attention to them because of their outstanding performance, but he has to say that the speed of progress of these two also surprised him. It can be said that very few have been transported to such an extent as Gu Yao and Qi Changjai. Thinking of the next trip to the temple, Immortal Emperor Ziji took a few more glances at the two of them. He didn't believe that there would be nothing to gain from the luck of the two. Now it depends on how big or small the gain is. Immortal Emperor Ziji did not know, neither did Gu Yao. They once had a divine friendship in the starry sky, and that time, it may be said that they passed by. Huang Yushan of Huangji Palace glanced at Immortal Emperor Ziji with a smile, and he was also scolding him for being a cunning member in his heart. He was robbed by this old thing first. At this time, he sent the empty marrow crystal, which was not as meaningful as his. When he was old, he glanced at Immortal Emperor Huopeng. It was said that Huangji Hall had the most contact with Gu Yao and the others. So Emperor Huangjiatian opened his mouth and said, speaking of, Gu alchemist and fellow deist Qi have a good relationship with our fellow deist Huopeng in Huangji Hall. Once you meet, this seat will also give you a gift, Huopeng, you will send it in person. The monk's onlookers are going to squirt. The bigger the boss, the more he enjoys it. He tried every means to get in touch with Gu Yao, so that the meeting gift from Immortal Emperor Peak, the master of Huangji Hall, could be light. Certainly not less than the value of an empty medullary crystal. Immortal Emperor Huopeng smirked in his heart, because Huang Yushan gave him a voice transmission, and let him find a way to get a top-level elixir from Gu Yao, no matter what the cost. Huopeng said in his heart, this immortal emperor used to say that the ancient alchemist was superb in alchemy. What did you do at that time? I don't think it's high enough, so I can wait a little longer. His value is still a lot worse than Lu Changfeng and others. Now I see, even the hall master asked me, Huopeng, to help, and I still have the eyes of Huopeng. After taking the mission, Huopeng flew in front of Gu Yao and Qi Changjai, grinning happily. I saw alchemist Gu and fellow deist Qi again. Not long after the first meeting, fellow deist Qi was crossing the sky at that time. Gee, it turns out that both Gu alchemist and fellow deist Qi are stronger than my Huopeng, and my Huopeng admires them. Put something into the hands of the two of them, and both of them have a share. Huopengzin said that the hall master has done a lot more generously than the old guy of Xian Huanyan this time. If you want to give it away, you can't just give it to one person, you have to two people. All sent. Immortal Emperor Ziji also realized at this time, his face turned dark, and he glanced at Huang Yushan with a half-smile, and Huang Yushan smiled in response. Qi Changjai swept away his consciousness, his eyes flashed with shock, and he was given a wisp of sword energy, but just this wisp, he felt great power, which was probably left by the strongest sword cultivator. It is of great significance to the sword cultivator who cultivates the sword, so he waved his hand and put it in the storage ring and thanked Huang Yushan. The things here in Gu Yao are also very valuable. A top-tier immortal vein was sent to Gu Yao's heart, and 10 top-tier fairy grasses were also sent to his heart. He also knew what Qi Changjai got. I have to say that even those big men standing at the peak, if they want to make friends, it is difficult to fail. So Gu Yao took out 2 boxes without hesitation. One was for Immortal Emperor Huo Peng, and the other was for Huang Yushan's return gift. Huo Peng grinned happily. Huang Yushan secretly thought that this kid was taking advantage of him. Let him give him a gift, and actually got a real high-level elixir, a white wolf with empty gloves. This is a fool's blessing. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 773. Many monks are staring at Gu Yao's hand, or the box in his hand. How many years have the top-level medicinal pills not been seen in the fairy and demon world? If you want to get it, you are either preserved in the past or found in various secret realm ruins, but now Gu Yao has just shot too. He is really a top-level alchemist. Lu Changfeng came, and USI came too. Even Xue Luo was also hidden in the crowd. He looked at the box sent by Gu Yao with red eyes. He thought that the opportunity was in the hands of the 3 of them, but in the end who would have thought that it would fall into a practice? The years are only in the hands of a fraction of their young monks. This guy has really grown to the point where people look up. Luo Yang whispered with a smile. Gu Yao smiled and sent the top-level immortal veins into the immortal mansion. Immortal mist filled the immortal mansion immediately. The immortal energy in the immortal mansion was almost exhausted by them, and the replenishment of immortal stones was almost exhausted. Because in addition to maintaining the restricted operation of the immortal mansion, he and Qi Changjai also needed a lot of immortal energy to advance to the ranks one after another. Looking around, he and Qi Changjai looked at each other again. Gu Yao said loudly, Gu has been immersed in alchemy techniques for these years, and he has gained a little. Now he has 10 top-level elixirs, and there is a small amount of high-level and middle-level pills left. It is a rare opportunity for all Taoists to gather here, and you are welcome to come and buy. The one with the highest price will get it. Many people sprayed. Who would have thought that Gu Yao would sell pills in such a place? Since ancient times, he is also the first person. Lu Chengfeng and other veteran alchemists have black lines all over their heads, which really humiliates the image of alchemists. Which alchemist is so Philistine? It's a pity that I want to think so, but I can't control my footsteps and fly there. If they can buy a top-level medicine pill, can they be able to break through the door of magic? Haha, since Alchemist Gu is willing to sell medicine pills here, I will be the first to join in. It is said that Luo Yang is the proud disciple of this temple. Ji Motion, the master of the temple, actually followed the emperor. Yu Tianxiu, in the name of Luo Yang, has shortened the relationship with Gu Yao. Forget it, it's also an old man. The other peak bosses can't laugh or cry, but they really don't have too many top-level medicinal pills. As for immortal stones and those heavenly and earthly treasures, in terms of their identities and strengths, it's all external. Gu Yao bowed his hands to all sides, waved his hands to gather the energy of the starry sky, condensed the table and chairs, and opened it on the spot. With a swipe, 10 boxes were laid out in a row, and dozens of divine senses swept over, and they were all top-level medicinal herbs. With another swipe, dozens of jade bottles were also laid out together, and more divine senses swept over. Oh, they were all emperor-level, high-level and middle-level medicine pills. It made people want to rob Gu Yao, but it was a pity that they were too strong. People gathered here, and this idea can only be thought about. Luo Yang and Hu Su glanced at each other, laughing and standing beside the table as door gods. Who would dare to mess around? There are also emperor-level masters who have a good relationship with Gu Yao. Qi Changjai also came to help as guards. Gu Tingzi slapped her 2 juniors one by one, and scolded angrily, "Look, this is the outstanding person, the arrogance, you two don't give Laozi any more." Gu Cheng and Gu Lin hugged and cried, but the ancestors set a good example for them. After Gu Tingzi beat him, he strode towards Gu Yao, for fear that one step later, the top-tier medicinal herbs would be sold out. Meng Guangsheng shook his head and sighed. Gu Tingzi looked at Gu Yao a few more times that day. He really didn't take it seriously. It took a long time for the feng shui to take turns. Gu Tingzi used to show off his two juniors in front of him. Now but disgusted. Although there are a lot of immortal grasses growing and storing in the immortal mansion, and there are also many top immortal grasses with the highest rank, but over the years, no matter how large the amount is, they cannot withstand such consumption by Gu Yao, and they rely on Gu Yao and Qi Changjai to search for themselves. The top-level fairy grass is extremely difficult, and it may take thousands of years to harvest much. But these veteran emperor-level masters are different. Just before, Huang Yushengxiang sent out 10 top-level immortal grasses to give to Gu Yao. There must be a lot of stock in stock. It was bigger than Kanzuxing in Den Immortal Mansion. For the top-level medicinal herbs, Gu Yao only changed the top-level immortal veins and top-level immortal herbs. The high-level and middle-level ones can be discussed. In the blink of an eye, the 10 boxes on the table disappeared, replaced by Gu Yao harvested 10 top-rank immortal veins, and dozens of page-rank immortal grasses. When he put these harvests into the space, Gu Yao's heart trembled. Before, he felt that he was so poor that he was left with elixir. Instantly rich and oily. Those peak masters are not domineering, one person takes one, otherwise one person can take 2 or 3, but no one wants to fight before entering the temple. Lu Changfeng and the 3 of them came a step late, all the top-level pills were shot. Lu Changfeng sighed. At this time, those top-level cultivators would not look at their high-level pill master's face. Lu Changfeng said in a complicated mood, "Congratulations to Gu Alchemist for becoming a top-level alchemist, a role model for my generation." Gu Yao smiled, "The 3 of you, after the trip to the temple is over, we can find time to communicate and learn about alchemy." Lu Changfeng's mood immediately turned bright, and he responded with one mouthful, "Okay." Yu Ci's attitude towards Gu Yao this time is not as contemptuous as last time, but a little more serious. In the past, we looked down on Gu Alchemist, but IUSI is not someone who can't admit defeat. Since Gu Alchemist is invited, I will just wait and obey. I am also Shui Yeluo. Thank you. 3. Gu Yao was selling medicinal pills here, and Qi Changjai had the idea of empty medullary crystals, because Gu Yao discovered that after throwing empty medullary crystals into the small world, it was quickly absorbed, and it had the effect of stabilizing the small world. Qi Changjai thought he could give it a try. As for Gu Yao's safety, not to mention that there are many emperor-level bigwigs around Gu Yao to protect him, even if Gu Yao himself is in the late stage of the immortal emperor, who doesn't have eyes on him, even the peak bigwigs can't please him. After those top-level bosses bought the medicinal pills, they focused their attention on the still spouting hole. The appearance of empty medullary crystals. According to their observations, there is a certain pattern, not always, but every time. There will be 7 or 8 in a period of time. Seeing Qi Changjai coming over, everyone couldn't help but want to win over and gauge his strength. Fellow Daoist Qi also wants to give it a try, Immortal Emperor Ziji said with a smile. Qi Changjai nodded and said, "I am very interested, and I also want to practice my skills and digest my current strength." As soon as I say this, everyone understands that the speed of progress is too fast, and the power may not be fully grasped, but it is really enviable to say this. Which of these big men has not spent hundreds of thousands of years in cultivation? Some veteran bosses live longer. Huang Yushan smiled and said, "Then Daoist friend Qi, be careful, just call us if you have anything." "Thank you all." Qi Changjai accepted the good intentions. Ji Motion laughed loudly, "Since Dao Qi is the owner of Slaughter Sword, he won't lose to me, so Dao Qi will let me see the style of the master of Slaughter Sword. The 3rd wave is here, everyone be careful." A wave of empty pulp crystals erupted again, mixed in the space debris, and the clear beads looked extraordinarily crystal clear, and one figure flew in, and Chi also shuttled through the space debris, instantly catching the eyes of many monks. What everyone saw before was more about Guyao. The light of a top-level alchemist was too dazzling. It was the successor of the senior alchemist, and he was greeted by all the top leaders. Let me ask the cultivators present, besides the peak leaders, who are they? Has his brilliance caught your eye? At that time, it was enough to see Chi. Although he felt that a sword cultivator had extraordinary combat power, he was more envious and jealous. If you hadn't found an alchemist to be a Taoist companion, Chi would be able to advance to the rank so quickly. How could this boy be so lucky? It really makes one want to pry his corner. The last time in the Phoenix clan, Ao Kinkan of the Dragon clan wanted to let the Dragon clan cubs pry it, but it was a pity that no one in the younger generation dared to fight. Now, someone like Gu Tingzi also despises his two juniors. Even if he can't do something like Gu Yao, he has to follow Chi and marry a top-level alchemist as a Taoist companion, then he can follow the scenery. Of course, the cultivator who fought with Chi on the battlefield will not underestimate Chi. In the middle stage of the Immortal Emperor, he was able to leapfrog and fight the Emperor-level high-level Void Beast. Now, even in the late Immortal Emperor, even the peak Void Beast, I believe it can be. Fight a fight. If he is not qualified to stand by Guyao's side, may I ask which young cultivator in this world of immortals and demons has this qualification? Therefore, when Chi moved, it attracted countless eyes, wanting to see how capable he was. Guyao was very calm, glanced at Chi, and continued to sell his medicinal pills. It's not in vain to travel through the endless void in these years, and occasionally go out for a walk. Although the environment there is not as dangerous as the eruption of space debris, it is by no means a peaceful place. They have also encountered many times in space storm, after repeated trials and tribulations, the two of them are not inferior to others in terms of spatial understanding and self-confidence, even though they are going in different directions. Just dodged a piece of debris, another piece swept towards Chi, and it was too late to dodge again. Before the big guy who saw the situation said be careful, the sword of immortal slaughter appeared in Chi's hand, and he waved his hand and slashed it out. The space fragment was stagnant in mid-air, and what was even more shocking was that there was a crack on the fragment. At the moment when the fragment froze, Chi had already escaped and found one flying in his direction. Of empty medullary crystals. Several peak leaders who were close to each other looked at each other with shock in their eyes. They were shocked by Chi's strength. With that sword, they felt an extreme force of destruction. It was a combination of various forces. There is only one purpose, and that is to destroy everything and make the best use of the sword. Murderous aura, thunder attribute power, fire attribute power, and space power, each kind of power exists alone, and when cultivated to the extreme, it can be very amazing, and he also integrates these powers into one. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 774. The first empty medullary crystal was in hand. After Chi sealed the empty medullary crystal with his own power, he threw it into the storage ring, and took aim at the second empty medullary crystal. Everyone is diligent and quick, but don't be compared by fellow Daoist. Chi Peak Boss laughed. Now everyone dares not underestimate this latecomer. He is qualified to be on an equal footing with all the bosses. The afterlife is terrifying. The monks' onlookers also lit up. Sure enough, the mediocre monks are not qualified to stand beside the ancient alchemist. Teachers are not allowed to train a large number of emperor-level masters. Gu Tingzi saw that her hands were itchy again, and she wanted to beat her junior again. The sound of dragon whistling and phoenix ming came from a distance, and the dragon clan and the phoenix clan also came one after another. They got the news on the way that the ancient alchemist had returned and became a top-level alchemist. Harika greeted. I didn't expect that both the Dragon Emperor and the Phoenix Emperor would arrive, and their cultivation had reached the late Emperor level. The combat power they exerted would probably not lose to the peak masters. Although these two clans are not as good as the ancients, their overall strength is still very strong. The Dragon Emperor and the Phoenix Emperor are surrounded by two peak elders, the inheritance and strength left behind, so the strength can increase in a short period of time, which is incomparable to us. // The human race is not bad. Looking at the ancient alchemist and the Emperor Qi, it didn't take too long, and the strength is not inferior to them. The arrival of the Dragon and Phoenix clans also attracted Gu Yao's attention. He is familiar with the Dragon Emperor and the Phoenix Emperor, but the Dragon Emperor is not the Ao Yinfen he met in the secret realm of the Dragon clan. Now it is the Dragon Emperor Ao Feng, and the Feng Huang Emperor is more familiar. Look, when it came to Feng Yehua, who had a high temperament and came to him, Gu Yao remembered that little stupid bird that was so fat that he couldn't fly, and his heart was full of emotion. But when he saw Gu Yao, Feng Yehua's indifferent eyes immediately showed a warm color, showing a happy expression. Gu Alchemist, I knew that Gu Alchemist would definitely come back. At that time, I heard that Gu Yao and Qi Changjai did not come out, and they wandered into the endless void together with the remains of the alchemy god. He wanted to run out to check, but was stopped by the elders of the clan. He is also very clear about the memory of the emperor's inheritance. It is a danger and a big opportunity. Fortunately, he came back safely and was promoted to the top alchemy master, which must have suffered a lot. Yeah, I'm back, and Yuhua has become the real Phoenix Emperor. I'm proud of you. You should take this pill in case you are not prepared. Gu Yao shot and sent a top-level pill to many monks. Seeing that, they were jealous. Sure enough, the relationship between Gu Yao and Feng Huang was very good. Gu Yao was generous, and Feng Yehua also handed a storage ring to Gu Yao without hesitation. Gu Alchemist, these Phoenix clans can't use it, and the ancient alchemist can make use of their real mistakes. The accompanying Feng clan elder twitched the corners of his mouth. Before he left, he didn't get the news of Gu Yao's return. Feng Huang went to the Wind Clan treasure house to go around and picked up some things. It turned out that they were all prepared for Gu Yao. There is nothing to say, but fortunately, Gu Yao treats Feng Huang differently from others. The Phoenix family will not suffer at last, and stares at them jealously without looking at the Dragon family. Gu Yao's consciousness swept away, and he saw dozens of top-tier fairy grasses in the ring, and he couldn't help laughing and shaking his head. You can't do this again in the future, you should be careful with this trip to the temple // Okay, the high-ranking Feng Huang replied obediently, as if he was still the obedient little boy from before. Gu Yao didn't really let the Feng clan suffer, and he lost a few jade bottles in the past. Although it was not a top-level medicinal pill, the quality was between the high-level and middle level. It was still a good thing that was in short supply outside. Thank you very much. Ancient Alchemist, Ao Kinkan also came over. Our Dragon clan is also very close to the Ancient Alchemist, and knowing that the Ancient Alchemist was promoted to the top alchemist, the Dragon clan specially prepared a generous gift. Although the Dragon clan did not prepare as specially as the Phoenix clan Feng Huang, but after getting the news on the way, including the Dragon clan members, all members of the Dragon clan took out their storage rings to collect this heavy gift. Now it seems fortunately so, otherwise he lost his face in front of the Feng clan. Gu Yao smiled and said, Dragon Emperor is polite, these medicinal herbs hope to help the Dragon clan. Gu Yao's consciousness swept away, although it was not as good as Feng Yehua's handwriting, but the Dragon clan was still bleeding a lot, so he was also generous and gave a top-level medicinal pill, but the quality was not as good as Yehua's, and the rest make up for it with the Emperor level, middle level, high level. Ao Kinkan suddenly laughed until his teeth could not see his eyes. Alchemist Gu was really generous, and he was much easier to talk to than other alchemists. Alchemist Gu and Immortal Emperor Qi have also entered the temple, and we will be called to the Dragon Clan when something happens. Okay, Guyao replied with a smile, but he didn't take it too seriously. He didn't know what was going on in the temple. Just looking at the situation outside, he knew that peace was impossible. Maybe he and Qi Changjai will be taken into account, their safety depends on them. Immortal Emperor Qianjing, who was also staying here in Guyao, squinted at all this, and sure enough, when this alchemist reached the peak, his connections were sent to his door. Now, in the entire fairy world, which cultivator is like Gu Alchemist? As popular? Of course, what happens after entering the temple depends on the specific situation, but he always felt that Guyao and Qi Changjai were smart people and would not fail to see through them. Thinking like this, he cast his eyes on Kong Kaiang. Kong Kaiang took his void beast to participate in the competition for empty marrow crystals. Those void pus can indeed play some roles, but at this stage, they are also very limited. Those peaks boss, how many masters of the laws of space and power are inferior to those of the void beast? Immortal Emperor Ganjing shot a wicked look in his eyes, and secretly said to Guyao, when you enter the temple, you must be careful about that guy in the sky. Jifu thinks he should have his eyes on you and Immortal Emperor Qi sooner rather than later. The old thing might be waiting to be the Oriole. The luck of Guyao and Qi Changjai is really amazing, and it has attracted the attention of all the peak leaders present, and it is impossible for the old thief Kong Kaiang not to attack them. I know, I will be careful. Guyao also took a look there. When he first came, he discovered that special group of existence. If he asked him to say, the emperor-level boss of the fairy and demon world should be entering. The temple had dealt with them before to avoid future troubles, but the situation at the scene also made him understand that these big bosses have different hearts and their own minds, so they are destined to not be able to join forces. This old thief is not without flaws. The old man suspects that there is something wrong with his soul. At that time, the ancient alchemist will be able to do it. Immortal Emperor Qianjing again warned him. Although he wants to take revenge himself, he also knows that he has been delayed for all these years. The old thief has many helpers by his side, and it is impossible to rely on himself alone, but maybe Guyao may not. If the old thief really wanted to stare at Guyao, there would never be any good fruit to eat. He believed that the inheritance of the predecessors of the alchemy god should not only be as simple as alchemy. Guyao narrowed his eyes and nodded secretly. It really fell into his hands, he would never be polite. After the pills were sold, Guyao went to pay attention to the situation at Qi Changjai, but he didn't end up in person. Since he was being watched, he should retain a little more strength. He didn't even call out the cub and Mou. With a flash of blood, Qi Changjai fell to Guyao's side and handed him the 3 sealed empty marrow crystals. Guyao happily sent them into the space. His strength will also increase. Qi Changjai adjusted his breath for a while, and when a new wave erupted, he broke in again. When he was accidentally cut by space debris, he quickly took a pill and the injury recovered immediately. But there have been more than 20 waves of eruption before and after, and Qi Changjai must end up participating in the competition every time. He harvested a total of 20 empty marrow crystals. In addition, Feng Yuhua sent 7 more. He felt that Guyao had a special demand for empty marrow crystals. The elders of the Feng clan were also very helpless to his actions, because what Feng Huang sent was captured by him himself, and he did not use the income of other elders. The Dragon clan is convinced now, they really don't have the courage of the Phoenix Emperor. They didn't keep one, they gave them all to Guyao, and even if they didn't need the empty marrow crystal, they had to bring it to the Hui clan to cultivate their clan members. After the eruption of the space debris slowed down, the peak bosses all flew to the sky above the collapsed place to observe. After a while, after confirming that the eruption was over, one person shouted, "You can enter the temple, everyone be careful, there are still residues at the entrance. Lots of space debris. Let's go in." The most powerful peak bosses flew into the depths of the collapse one after another. Because of the space debris, some figures seemed to disappear suddenly, but after a while, they would see his figure in another direction. The person looked at flying towards the temple, but for some reason, the distance from the temple was getting farther and farther. In addition to space debris, there are space storms, and the danger is still everywhere. Master Gu, let's go first. The Dragon Emperor greeted Gu Yao and flew towards the entrance with the elders of the Dragon clan. Yaoi, let's go first. Feng Huang nodded, okay. The Phoenix clan followed closely behind the Dragon clan, and Gu Yao also noticed that they all looked coldly at Kong Qiang and his party that flew towards the entrance of the temple. I also know that these two are the enemies of their entire clan. If they meet, a war is inevitable. Let's go too, we'll walk with the others, take care of you and see you in the temple. Luo Yang laughed, waved with the others, and flew to the location of the Extreme Demon Palace, which was about to leave. Gu Yao and Qi Changjai no longer delayed, and flew to the entrance hand in hand. Because of the previous competition for empty marrow crystals, Qi Changjai was enough to deal with the current danger. Gu Yao did not do much, so he was brought in by Qi Changjai. The figure quickly disappeared from everyone's sight, in the line. At the peak of the Emperor level, the late Emperor level, and the middle stage of the Emperor level, all monks entered, and the early Emperor level monks also began to be eager to try. The little life, maybe they will have a chance to enter when the space at the entrance becomes more stable. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 775. Seeing that it was getting closer and closer to the temple, but after flying for a while, Qi Changjai stopped, blood flashed, and the void in front was shattered like a fragile glass, and the two were swallowed immediately. Roar! The overwhelming vicious aura surrounded the two, and the two were surprised to find that they did not enter the temple, but appeared in a dense ancient forest. A dozen beasts jumped out of it. The two stood in mid-air. Gu Yao's pupils shrank as he saw it. My dear, the strength of these beasts has reached the Emperor level. There is no such beast in the entire fairy, demon, and demon world. Qi Changjai slashed a fierce bird flying in the air into two halves with his sword, and the blood spilled down. This scene shocked some of the beasts, and Qi Changjai took the opportunity to take Gu Yao out of the gap. While vigilant, he thought about it and said, maybe we have entered the world of one of the space fragments, so we are no longer in the fairy and demon world. This fragmented world should not be complete, and we need to find a way out as soon as possible. Their task is to enter the temple, not to spend time in this fragmented world, and in the process of competing for the empty pulp crystal, he also discovered that the center of the explosion not only contained a large amount of chaotic space energy, but also hidden the power of time. Your guess is probably right, we shouldn't waste time here. Cubs, MOU came out to fight together. The figures of Cub and MOU immediately appeared beside Gu Yao, and the two could see the outside scene through Gu Yao's eyes, so they quickly entered a state of battle as soon as they appeared. More fierce beasts rushed over, flying in the sky, running in the sky, and jumping between trees. It is hard to believe that their intelligence is not high, but their strength is very powerful. Compared with the void beast, it is another form. Ferocious beast. Kill. Qi Changjai was the main attacker. As soon as the sword light came out, he took away the lives of several fierce beasts. Cub and MOU were in charge of both sides. Although it was the first time they had come into contact with such beasts, they were not careless at all. Kills. While fighting, Gu Yao exerted his greatest ability to find the weak points of the fragmented world. His strong soul force spread out unscrupulously, merged with the heaven and earth here, and quickly found the direction for them. Go right. Ahead, go. When his soul power spread out, he found that there were many soul powers of different strengths also strangling him. At first, he was surprised, thinking it was a counterattack from Xiu Tu, but he didn't until he wiped out one of the soul power. When it fell, it was discovered that this strong or weak soul power actually came from those giant trees. Be careful with those trees, they are all mutated. Although the soul power is weaker, there is no guarantee that there will be any unexpected situations. Hearing Gu Yao's reminder, Qi Changjai was also very surprised, because he had discovered that these trees could not move, but he intuitively felt that something was staring at them. This thing seemed to be everywhere, everywhere. Sure enough, his intuition was yes, what he noticed should come from these trees. What surprised the two of them was that the trees would cooperate with the beasts. The trees would completely hide the aura of the beasts, blend them into the grass and trees, and kill them unexpectedly. Let them hit to a small loss. Gu Yao's soul power found that there were extremely energetic plants in the forest, but they did not stop to search. Their goal now is to leave as soon as possible, and they will have the opportunity to come back to this fragmented world in the future. The two of them went out all the way, killing the beasts and the trees to the point of shivering. The body of Xiezheng fell, and beasts that were not as powerful as them jumped out from both sides, and they devoured the bodies of the beasts desperately, in some places. The ground sags, the corpse slowly sank in, Gu Yao's divine sense swept it. This was not what the beast did, but the trees, which were also devouring the corpses of the fierce and good, drawing their energy from it. Perhaps it was because of too much slaughter, and the rich blood suffused. A roar came from a distance. Gu Yao and Qi Changjai glanced at the same time. The breath from there was far stronger than the beast they were killing now. Well, if there is a group of... The two immediately turned their eyes away, and the movements in their hands became sharper. The roar over there was getting closer and closer, and Gu Yao's eyes lit up. It's here, it's here. Get out of the way, be careful. Qi Changjai swung his sword and slashed out, and that sword instantly shattered the heavens and the earth. A huge space crack appeared in front of them, and the two of them immediately jumped in. When they just disappeared, a hill-like beast arrived, roaring at the constantly healing space crack. Those few breaths disappeared here. Damn, it can feel, if it devours them, it will. He must be able to break free from the cage of heaven and earth. The next moment, the two of them found that they were on a passage, and the road under their feet was paved with top-quality materials that can be used to create acquired spirit treasures. Go. However, the two of them did not move, vigilantly watching their surroundings. Could it be that we guessed wrong before? In fact, we have already entered the scope of the temple? The previous fragmented world was attached to the temple, Gu Yao guessed. Qi Changjai thought the same. Maybe what we see may not be true, and the temple we see may not actually be the real temple, which means that the temple may be more dangerous than we expected. Gu Yao thought for a while, and said, "Mou goes back first, cubs don't leave me." The two little ones were very obedient. One entered the small world, the other was attached to Gu Yao, and Gu Yao's soul and power suddenly expanded again. Mou was able to enter the small world, which also gave Gu Yao a bit of confidence. Fortunately, the small world was still there. Fortunately, the empty marrow crystals obtained before entering the small world strengthened the small world. This is their trump card. After making full preparations, the two looked at each other, and then stepped out together. In the first step, the surrounding scene changed, making people wonder if it was one scene at a time, and the two separated. Gu Yao took a deep breath. Fortunately, this situation was also expected by them, and Qi Changjai could also contact the small world and enter it at a critical moment, but it seems that it is not easy to leave right now. Because he found himself standing in the starry sky. This starry sky is very different from the starry sky in the fairy and demon world. It is precisely the starry sky in the starry sky in his previous life, with a bit of unfamiliar familiarity, because it is too far away, a bit more unfamiliar. Illusion, he knew that it was an illusion, and what Qi Changjai entered at this moment should also be an illusion related to his past. Standing in the starry sky out of thin air, Guyao slowly regained the familiarity he once had in his heart. He took a step and walked out. He also remembered where he is now, which is the area where the Alliance and the Zerg meet, and there is a planet below it. A dead silence, because all the energy-containing things on the planet have been swallowed up by the Zerg, and the Zerg is almost all-pervasive, like the viruses in this interstellar world. Once they are given a chance, they will spread unscrupulously. The living space of human beings is getting smaller and smaller. However, there is no trace of the Zerg here. Guyao doesn't know whether the Zerg was pushed back or the humans abandoned this place. The illusion he entered was real, and brought him back to the former interstellar world, or was it just a concern in his heart? Yes, standing in this starry sky, he found that he still misses the world he once lived in. Even if he died in a conspiracy, he didn't want the alliance he worked hard for to be invaded by the Zerg. Otherwise, he wants efforts made for this world will be useless, and this world will no longer have traces of his existence. At this moment, the normal warships flew over and landed on the riddled planet. Guyao hid in the dark to observe their situation. Humans came out of the U warship, and they were wearing the clothes of the Alliance army. Protective clothing, which made Guyao relieved. This should still be the side of the human alliance. Search carefully for me, don't miss any traces, and give me big eyes. Got it, Captain. Captain, are the Zerg really reappearing? Back then, our alliance managed to knock them out of this starry sky. The leader of the team was an officer of the Alliance army, who said solemnly, the ability of the Zerg to survive and reproduce is even more terrifying than you think, and they will never give up the opportunity to devour this starry sky. We must guard against it, even if the news is that if it is false, it must also be seriously verified. Understood, Captain. Captain, speaking of our interstellar alliance's great achievements over the years, it is inseparable from the great master of pharmacy 100 years ago. Without that ancient master, we humans might still be fighting the Zerg to the death. Won't win so soon. Yeah, it's a pity that Master Gu has just released the potion that can promote the improvement of our entire human race, and an accident happened. At that time, Master Gu was still so young. If he survived, he might be able to develop more precious potions. Today's pharmaceutical industry, but also because of the flourishing situation of the ancient masters. Speaking of the ancient master who made great contributions to the human alliance 100 years ago, the captain is also full of emotion. Yes, without the ancient master, there will be no overall improvement of our interstellar alliance, and we will not be able to achieve a decisive victory in the battle against the Zerg. Because this situation is hard-won, we need to be more vigilant not to let this hard-won victory be lost. It's strange to say that, after the Zerg was expelled, there were a lot of shady stories from several big powers in the alliance and aristocratic families. At that time, there were many stories. Some said that they colluded with the Zerg secretly, dragging us down the back of human beings, and also it is said that the accident of Master Gu has something to do with them. Don't worry, human beings and history will not forget Master Gu. The captain's eyes became deep. He knew about it. The death of Master Gu was not an accident, but a conspiracy. The reason was in the ancient, the new type of potion developed by the Master. The potion of the ancient Master benefits the entire alliance. How can the alliance and human beings live up to the ancient Master and let go of the murderer who killed him? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 776. Guyao smiled. No matter whether the illusion is true or not, he has no regrets. People in this interstellar world remember him, and those who calculated him did not end well. His medicine is also widely promoted in the Interstellar Alliance, and without becoming a tool for some interest groups to collect money, the soldiers of the Alliance army below are indeed stronger than when he was alive. Then he frowned. Could it be that after 100 years, the Zerg has revived again? His divine sense is extremely powerful. He hadn't searched carefully before, but now because of their conversation, his divine sense has penetrated into every corner of the planet. Soon he found out, there are really traces left by the Zerg. It seems that the war between the Star Alliance and the Zerg will continue, but I believe that as long as most people unite and form a single rope, the crisis of the Zerg is not a solution. No way. Thinking like this, Guyao decided not to intervene in the crisis of the Zerg, but to hand them over to the Interstellar Alliance 100 years later. The existence of foreign aggression will make the alliance more united, and a large number of outstanding characters will emerge. Professionals, especially soldiers on the battlefield. But it's still okay to help a little. Guyao's soul is extremely powerful. With a little movement, the search team below will look in the direction of the Zerg traces found by Guyao. The strength is very different. There is power that guides them in secret. They found several traces after collecting the evidence. The warship hurriedly returned to the Alliance to report the situation. The next step will be to send more warships to defend. After the battleship left, Guyao's consciousness continued to search the depths to see how far the Zerg had developed 100 years later. This sight made his complexion change. The Zerg has expanded so much in 100 years, and the Interstellar Alliance, which has been in a truce for 100 years, is afraid that it will fall into a passive state. Although he will not solve the crisis of the Zerg for the Alliance, Guyao decided to leave more behind. He walked in the universe and found a planet that has not yet been fully developed. The energy of heaven and earth in this planet is stronger than other places. Standing above the planet, Guyao waved his hand and scattered a patch of seeds scattered all over the planet, and soon these seeds took root and sprouted on the planet's land. The seeds he chose are all conducive to the development of human potential, and constantly increase the upper limit of human beings. Waiting for the pharmacist to develop these plants into medicines will definitely be able to build a powerful army for the Alliance. After doing these things, Guyao no longer regrets it, and turned to leave decisively. The next moment, he returned to the passage that appeared before, but Chi-Chang-Ai was nowhere to be seen, but because of the deep bond between the two, he could sense that Chi-Chang-Ai didn't see it at the moment. No danger. Guyao took another step, and sure enough, one step at a time, the scenery in front of him changed again. This time, Guyao found that he was no longer himself, but a baby who just fell to the ground and cried, and could only see everything around him through the eyes of this baby. As the baby grew up, he even forgot about him. It's Guyao, but just an ordinary farmer's child. He is not willing to be trapped in a poor mountain village. He tries his best to study, and go out step by step until he finally becomes famous and becomes an invincible figure in the court, and can even influence the future of the court. Just when his power reached the peak, he suddenly gave up everything and returned to the original mountain village alone. No one could understand his decision and choice, but when he returned to the mountain village, he stood on the mountain peak and watched the rising. The sun suddenly laughed and almost fell into it, forgetting who he really was. Yes, at the last moment, he remembered who he was. He was Guyao. How could Guyao be confused by the power of the world? There is no way to get out of it, and in the end, maybe it will sink into life after life, completely forgetting who you are. Sure enough, at the next moment, the old man who was sagging, reverted to a young and handsome cultivator on the passage. Guyao's eyes were clear. Maybe, this is a journey of spiritual training, but there is also a huge crisis hidden, one that is hard to forget. Knowing who he is, he may fall outside and be trapped in the world of reincarnation forever. With clear eyes, Guyao took the third step, and a new life began. 100 lifetimes of reincarnation, 100 lifetimes of heart-refining journey. When he appeared at the end of the passage, the last reincarnation was over. Guyao's eyes were a bit more vicissitudes, but as soon as he closed his eyes and blinked, he recovered again. It was the same, but the aura on his body became stronger, and when his mind moved, he completely restrained, and he grinned, as if he had really become a carefree mortal boy. Guyao has gone through 100 reincarnations, but Zawi, who was with him, has slept for 100 lifetimes. Guyao can't laugh or cry. He originally wanted Zai to be a backup player, but he didn't expect that there was no room for him. This is just for him. A test and training of the heart, nothing outside can help. No, it was the first time that he could still communicate with his own small world. Guyao had a kind of enlightenment. Maybe the first life was not a fantasy, but he really returned to the world of the Star Alliance, and because of this completely let go of the concern about the Alliance. The breath on his body continued to rise until it stopped when it was about to reach its peak, and there was no sense of frivolity. Hundreds of reincarnations are extremely dangerous, and if one is not good, they will not come back, but after passing this level, the harvest is also very rich. He didn't know if other people had entered the heart refining journey here, but while waiting patiently for Chi Chang'ai, no one encountered him. At this moment, a figure came out of the fog. It was the Chi Chang'ai he had just talked about, and his eyes were sharper than when he first embarked on this path of spiritual refinement, but when he saw Guyao, in the blink of an eye, it sank and became softer. Chi Chang'ai stretched out his hand to Guyao. You came out one step ahead of me. Yeah, it didn't take long for you to wait. Is everything all right? Chi Chang'ai showed a hint of happiness. There were several lives that were almost trapped in it and couldn't be pulled out, but fortunately I woke up at the last moment. What he didn't say was that some lives almost became a killing machine, hatred almost blinded his eyes, but fortunately the memory deep down, he still remembered that there was someone who made him unable to let go, and a voice told him that once he let go, he would not be able to go back, so he turned it around with his extraordinary will. It is not without the influence of Slaughter Immortal Sword, the murderous aura of Slaughter Immortal Sword itself, and perhaps the resentment left by the previous owner of Slaughter Immortal Sword, which made him struggle in the slaughter and hatred, almost killing for the sake of killing. But he also knew very well that after this time, the immortal slaughtering sword could no longer affect him. He was Chi Chang'ai, and the immortal slaughtering sword could only be used by him. The sword spirit in the slaughtering sword space in the Danshan trembled for some reason, touched his neck and muttered, "What's the matter? The master wants to trick me again? Didn't he just sleep? The sword spirit also needs rest." He had absolutely no idea about the reincarnation and the extremely dangerous journey of mind refining that Chi Chang'ai experienced, nor did he know that Chi Chang'ai planned to settle accounts with him later. The two held hands and walked forward together. In a blink of an eye, the passage behind them disappeared, and fighting and scolding sounded in their ears. Needless to say, they must be in the temple this time. Before they could see the surrounding situation clearly, a black shadow flew towards them, about to pass by them. Guyao subconsciously reached out to catch it, and the surrounding voices suddenly quieted down. The cultivators in this square looked strangely at Guyao and Chi Chang'ai, who suddenly appeared out of thin air, especially what Zia Guyao grabbed was exactly what they were fighting for before. Looted items. The thing in his hand was still struggling to escape, so Guyao subconsciously imprisoned it with layers of strength, and glanced at the square and the magnificent palace not far away, as well as the monk who stopped fighting and looked at them, stunned. Leng said, "What's the matter? And what I caught is..." As he spoke, he looked into his hand. It was a small sword with a slap in the palm of his hand. It was still unwilling to slap like a dehydrated fish from time to time. Is this a congenital treasure? Guyao suddenly understood why the current situation came about. Chi Chang'ai didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and because of Guyao's slow response, he didn't expect that what these people were desperately fighting for would fall into Guyao's hands so easily. Come early is worse than coincidence. It turned out to be Master Gu and Immortal Chi. The Devil Emperor Tiank in the demon realm is a thin old man who always feels gloomy to people. Greeting people makes people get goosebumps all over. Immortal Chi has killed the immortal emperor. I wonder if this sword can be given to this old man. Humph. The ancient alchemist has to listen to this devil's nonsense. Meng Guangsheng and Meng Xiandi were fighting with the Tian devil emperor. Of course, there were other middle-level and early-level emperors who participated in the fight. There are two. A cultivator fell into the corner, covered in blood. He swallowed the medicinal pill and still couldn't recover. Since this sword fell into the hands of the ancient alchemist, it means that it is related to the ancient alchemist. Meng Guangsheng had just fought fiercely with the devil emperor Tianque, and he didn't want to give up the appearance of this innate spiritual treasure, but when he saw the appearance of Guyao and Qi Changjai, he immediately changed his mind, and he even wished for the devil emperor Tianque and Guyao Kai. After a long night fight, maybe he can take the opportunity to seek favor. Although this swordfoot is a congenital spiritual treasure, in his opinion, Qi Changjai has the sword of slaying immortal, so he may not like this sword. The other emperor-level masters stopped fighting and stood vigilantly on the side. They might not have had a chance before, but they didn't expect the variable Guyao and Qi Changjai to appear. Some monks said that Guyao and Qi Changjai had good luck before, but now seeing the spirit treasure fall into Guyao's hands for no reason, maybe the luck is really against the sky. The devil emperor Tian glared at Meng Guangsheng, but he still refused to miss this spiritual treasure. Alchemist Gu, tell me, what conditions are needed to return the spiritual treasure to this old man? Humph, Qi Changjai snorted coldly. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 777. Guyao also sneered, and the devil emperor Tianque has a really big face, also? You are the master of Lingbao? Call me first and let me see if Lingbao should answer your call, and then talk about the things that haven't been returned. Depend on me. Look, this Lingbao is destined to me, otherwise it won't fly anywhere, and will it fly to me on the initiative? The devil emperor Tianque was furious, so what if the ancient Yaodan technique was better? An alchemist who can leave here alive is the most valuable, and when he dies, he is nothing, but a latecomer dares to challenge himself, so what if he is a genius? Humph, are you two really having trouble getting along with this old man? If you want to fight, fight. No need to talk nonsense. Qi Changjai was full of sword intent. What an arrogant boy, I'll let you see the old man's methods. The devil emperor Tianque wanted to make these two look good, but he changed his mind. Now he not only wants the spiritual treasure, but also the medicinal pill on his body. Although he shot more than a dozen top-level medicinal pills outside, he dared to say that he still had quite a few. As for whether or not to beat it, the devil emperor Tianque has never considered this issue at all, so what if Jianjiu is more powerful? Which sword cultivator didn't come to the fore after years of hard work? In his opinion, Qi Changjai is relying on pills to pile up, and defeating him is not an easy task. At the same time, a voice transmission was sent to Meng Guangsheng. Meng Lao, you must not interfere in this matter, otherwise, no matter where you hide after the incident, the old man will not let it go. Meng Sheng responded with a sneer, don't worry, Meng Guangsheng, will be watching your Heaven K Devil Emperor show off his majesty. Meng Guangsheng's words were full of endless ridicule. Tianque Demon Emperor became greedy. Did he really think he couldn't see it? But he really regarded Guyao and Qi Changjai as easy to bully? Do you really think that the two of them got to where they are today is all by luck? The battle started in the blink of an eye, and it was even more intense than the previous battle between Devil Emperor Tianque and Meng Guangsheng. Who do you say wins or loses between these two? It's hard to say. Immortal Emperor Qi is a powerful sword cultivator, Tianque is a veteran Devil Emperor, and it has been a long time since he entered the peak. Not to mention his strength, he will still have a trump card. Humph, what's the use of having more trump cards? In front of Jiangziu, it only takes one sword to finish the job. As soon as the monk finished speaking, a heart-pounding force rose up in this square. With a click sound, the restrictions above the square were torn apart, and the originally peaceful restrictions around the square also rioted. At the same time, Tianke the Demon Emperor was surrounded by black fog, a black skull emerged, and the gloomy wind was blowing, which formed a sharp contrast with Qi Changjai. However, in Meng Guangshen's view, it only takes one look to know that the old thing Tianke is going to be defeated. Tianke is walking with the most yin demonic energy, and Qi Changjai's path is exactly for tat with him. The gods and demons come to the world and destroy everything. It seems that they still underestimate Qi Changjai's fighting power. Looking at Gu Yao on the side, the restrictions around him were about to move, but Gu Yao stood there with a calm appearance, because he believed in Qi Changjai's strength, and he was confident that he would not be involved in the restriction. In an instant, the sky in the square was dark, and the forces of one yin and one yang collided. Boom boom boom. The monks in other places in the temple were alarmed by the movement, and they all looked at the violent fluctuations. Who is this supposed to be fighting? The movement is not small, and the posture is endless. One is the old thing Tianke. This old thing is a lot of things. It hurt the demon emperor Mo Wuze before, and now he is probably eyeing other people's things. The other one seems to be Immortal Emperor Qi Changjai. Do you feel the sword Qi that destroys everything? Even the ban in this temple is driven. Sure enough, this old thing got the idea of the young Immortal Emperor. Gu Alchemist should be with him too. It's better for this old thing to fall into the hands of Immortal Emperor Qi. Immortal Qi won't lose. Looking at this situation, I shouldn't lose. Tianke's old thing is a lot of crooked things, how can it be compared with the real sword cultivator? These are just what happened in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, the two figures that collided were immediately separated. One of them was Qi Changjai with more and more sword energy, and a second sword could be fired at any time, but the other side was short of the Devil Emperor. He coughed up a mouthful of blood, especially the skull in his hand, with a crack on it. This is an acquired spiritual treasure that the Devil Emperor Tianke has spent countless years and spent a lot of good things forging. At this time, Tianke Demon Emperor regretted fighting Qi Changjai. He never expected that he was so powerful, and there was another Meng Sheng who was eyeing him. Kill! Qi Changjai roared angrily, and the slaughtering immortal sword attacked again, with murderous aura, splitting black cracks. Having gone through the road of refining his heart, his control of murderous aura was completely controlled by his heart. Damn it, Devil Emperor Tianke could see Qi Changjai's killing intent. He didn't want to fall here before he got any benefit. He threw something and turned around and fled. In a short moment of being able to stop him, there is still a danger of heart palpitations chasing him. The Devil Emperor Tianke once again threw something behind him, making a rumbling sound all the way. Just when he thought he was far enough away from danger, with a thud, his body flew forward, and the remaining sword energy still struck him. He was hit, and he was injured again. When he noticed the atmosphere around him, Tianke Mo didn't dare to stay. A flash of blood flashed and the person disappeared. He disappeared here, and a monk appeared there, looking at the direction in which he disappeared and talking. This old thing, I didn't expect Immortal Emperor Qi to make him suffer such a big loss. That sword energy is very recognizable, because it was revealed when he robbed the empty marrow crystal before, but he did not expect that the Devil Emperor Tianke would be so vulnerable. That is, he had a lot of ways to save his life, otherwise, the result is really hard to say. This battle just proves that Emperor Kai's combat power is no weaker than the peak of the Emperor level, and the speed of progress between him and the ancient alchemist is really too fast. Yes, whether it is the improvement of alchemy or swordsmanship, it takes countless hours to accumulate and sharpen, but they ignore this point. After today's battle, no one wants to weigh the strength of Immortal Emperor Qi anymore. Heh, who made this old man Tianke overly capable of provoking Immortal Emperor Qi, asking for trouble? As the Devil Emperor Tianke looks like now, it is unknown whether he can leave the temple alive or not. Many cultivators found out that he was injured. It is impossible to guarantee that there are people who have his ideas. Good luck. There is no one who is affectionate, and the reputation of Tian Devil Emperor has never been very good. Mo Wuze's happy laughter came from a distance. Tianke, you old thing also has today, it's best not to let the seat run into your old thing in the next days, haha. Qi Changjai became famous in battle. Meng Guangsheng put away whatever ideas he had, and said congratulations to Qi Changjai and Guyao with a look of resignation. This old thing has been around for so many years, and I haven't suffered any losses. This time I fell into a back seat, be careful that he still has a shot to deal with it. Of course, this old thing has gone somewhere now, and I don't know when it will come out again. There are many restrictions in the temple, and there are many dangerous places. Maybe you will fall into the dangerous area. Instead of dying under the Qi Changjai sword, you will die in the restriction. This is not impossible. Thank you for reminding Emperor Meng Xiandi. Guyao stepped forward. By the way, where did this spiritual treasure come from? Meng Guangsheng didn't hide it. There is a weapon pavilion in the back, but the prohibition is very strong. This is what we use to break a gap and fly out of the gap. There must be a lot of good things in it. Weapon pavilion? Go and have a look. Guyao looked at Qi Changjai. Okay, Qi Changjai, who had put away his sword, was no longer aggressive. This was also what shocked Meng Guangsheng. The promotion was so fast, and he could send and receive freely, so he couldn't fight against it unless it was a last resort. Then Meng will also join in the fun, Meng Guangsheng said with a smile. Guyao has no opinion, he just went to see it. Now he and Qi Changjai have their own spiritual treasures to use. The new one may not be suitable for him, even the sword he just got, he didn't plan to use it, so he threw it in first. In space. Xiao Jian, who was trapped in the pill pavilion, desperately wanted to run out, but he couldn't break the defense of the pill pavilion. Xiao Dan poked his head out of the window and watched the movement of this stupid sword with a smile. Wanting to escape from here? Dream it. Without his brother and him watching, a little thing that has just recovered can't beat him. The two of Guyao and Meng Guangsheng came to a palace. There were 3 big characters written on the plaque of the palace. Although they did not know each other, they knew the meaning of the expression from the rhythm that came out. That was the weapons pavilion. However, the gate of the palace was banned and wrapped, and it was impossible to enter it. Through the ban, one could vaguely see the magic weapon flying in the air. Go back and let me try. Guyao and Meng Guangsheng immediately retreated, and the other monks in the square also followed, but they didn't move forward. After seeing Qi Changjai's terrifying fighting power, they didn't want to fight with him, but if the weapon pavilion could be completely opened, they would. If you can't get the congenital spiritual treasure, maybe you can grab 1 or 2 acquired spiritual treasures that Guyao and the others despise. This time, Qi Changjai's sword was not as powerful as before, but the power was concentrated at one point, and the ban of Yandian immediately shook. Meng Guangsheng was also overjoyed. Maybe this time he can completely break the ban here. There is no shortage of that old thing miscalculated this time. The forbidden light flashed and fell silent again, and it did not break, but both Guyao and Qi Changjai felt that the force of the restraint was weakened a lot. Qi Changjai thought for a while and looked at Meng Guangsheng, and suggested, Meng Xiandi, why don't we join forces? Okay. Boom. Crack. With a bang, the restriction was completely disintegrated under the joint efforts of the two, and in an instant, dozens of streamers flew out. No, they're going to escape, catch them. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 778. A familiar scene made Guyao stretch out his hand and grab it. Qi Changjai's movements were also not slow, but at this moment, the dozens of streamers had already flown away, and the other monks did not care about Guyao and Qi Changjai, and chased after them one by one. Guyao caught two, and Qi Changjai did the same. The one in Guyao's hand was still struggling to escape, but the one in Qi Changjai's hand was lying down obediently, with a look of "I'm very obedient," because he noticed from this person to an extremely dangerous atmosphere, a little resistance may wipe out their spirituality. A shield-shaped spiritual treasure, a mirror-shaped spiritual treasure, a fire phoenix-shaped spiritual treasure, and the last one is a blue flag, a shield-shaped spiritual treasure. Needless to say, it should be a defensive spiritual treasure. Feng is a fire attribute attacking Lingbao. The mirror and flag Lingbao make people unable to distinguish at a glance, but there are other things at the moment. The 4 Lingbaos have all been sent to Guyao's small world. 2 innate spiritual treasures, 2 acquired spiritual treasures, plus the sword-shaped innate spiritual treasure before. This is actually a very rich harvest, so for the other flying spirit treasures, the 2 did not want to fight again. The palace, there were only the 2 of them left in front of the door, and even Meng Guangsheng went after Lingbao. Let's go in and have a look. With so many spiritual treasures hidden, this place should be a treasure, Guyao guessed. Okay. The 2 walked into the palace with their feet raised. There was quite a lot of space inside, and there were shelves placed one after another. Now the shelves are empty. Needless to say, they were used to place the spiritual treasures that flew away before. The 2 did not know that the appearance of dozens of spiritual treasures not only attracted those monks from before, but also attracted monks from other places to participate in the battle for spiritual treasures. Even if there were dozens of them, it would cause a lot of damage. Battle. But these have nothing to do with them. The 2 walked along the shelves and walls, and Guyao's strong soul power spread out and penetrated into every corner of the palace. After walking for more than half a circle, he didn't find anything, which made Guyao suspect that maybe there were only those dozens of spiritual treasures, and there was nothing abnormal here. Just as he was about to walk towards the door, Guyao suddenly thought about it and looked at an empty shelf. Have you found anything? Qi Changjai stretched out his hand, but found nothing but air. I'll try it. Guyao was about to leave and his soul was about to be pulled away when he suddenly noticed an extremely weak fluctuation. If it wasn't for his special soul, he wouldn't have been able to detect it. Guyao stretched out his hand, and an energy he called the world power covered his hand. The world power, which is the abbreviation of the power of the world, or the power of heaven and earth, is his integration into the world and the continuous development of the small world. Afterwards, he could feel a kind of power that he mastered. It was very powerful, but he didn't use it in front of people. There are too many laws in the world power, among which are the laws of space, but the most important point is that it is based on his soul power. His special soul makes it easier for him to integrate into the world, so as to master this kind of energy. Strength. The development of the small world also has a complementary role. Sure enough, after a while, his hand encountered an obstacle, and more realm power poured out. As if there was a slight click, a small black hole appeared in the eyes of the 2. Guyao quickly took out something from the black hole, and immediately after retreating, the world power receded. The shelf returned to its original state. If it weren't for the box in their hands, both of them suspected that what had appeared before was an illusion. Leave first and see later. Qi Changjai's voice sounded in Guyao's mind. Guyao immediately threw the box into the pill pavilion, and walked out with Qi Changjai calmly. There were monks coming outside, because they got the news that Lingbao came from here. Those who flew out of the weapon pavilion couldn't catch up with Lingbao, so come to the weapon pavilion to see, maybe there is something good hidden here. It turned out to be Master Gu and Immortal Emperor Qi. I heard that the weapon was opened by Immortal Emperor Qi and Immortal Meng together. Did all the spiritual treasures fly away? An emperor-level boss asked with a smile, with a hint in his eyes. There is suspicion, because only these 2 people entered the weapon pavilion, which makes people have to suspect that even if there is something good in it, it has advanced into the hands of these 2 people. Guyao smiled and said, "Yeah, it flew away as soon as we opened it. We wondered if there was anything special in the weapon pavilion, so we went in and searched, but unfortunately we found nothing. Maybe we have too little experience. Don't disturb everyone. Now, let's go somewhere else." It's good to leave. Although the boss had doubts in his heart, this kind of occasion is definitely not suitable for tearing up the face with these two people, not to mention that Chi Changjai beat the devil Emperor Tianq to run away. He asked himself. Even if the people who come join forces, there is no way to keep these two. It would be even worse if other people took the chance, so they could only send these two away every day. After leaving the weapons pavilion, Guyao did not go to see what was in the box, but contacted Xiaodan and asked him to explore. So in the pill pavilion, the three-headed Xiaodan turned around the box several times. The material of the box was special enough, and the contents inside did not leak at all, and there was another seal. Xiaodan tried several ways to remove it. The method of sealing, although the box was not completely opened, there was a breath that leaked out, and Xiaodan's eyes instantly became dazed. "Xiaodan? Xiaodan," seeing no echo from Xiaodan, Guyao's divine sense penetrated into the pill pavilion and called. After a while, Xiaodan let out a breath and said to Guyao, "Brother, I think I know what's in it." Guyao let out a small sigh. There is a close connection between Xiaodan and him, so he can detect it. His state has changed a bit at the moment. "Xiaodan, have you remembered something?" "Yes, brother." Xiaodan remembered that Xiaodan used to stay in this temple. Xiaodan was taken out of the temple, there were many people fighting for Xiaodan, and finally Xiaodan was broken by them. The pieces are scattered all over the place. "Brother, these are not important, the important thing is what is in the box, which is good for my brother, but I can't take it out now. As soon as I take it out, my brother's small world will shake and attract others' attention. My brother needs to find a safe place will do ." Guyao was shocked. He thought it was another spiritual treasure, perhaps one of the best among innate spiritual treasures, but he didn't expect it to be an item conducive to the growth of a small world, and it was hidden in the weapon pavilion. But Xiaodan's words also brought him another message, that is, Xiaodan should be familiar with this temple, and it would be great to be able to show them the way. "Okay, I understand, Xiaodan, don't have to worry about it, help us see. Let's see how we go now." Xiaodan left the pill pavilion and looked out through Guyao's eyes. "By the way, the place where my brother stayed just now was the weapon pavilion," and Xiaodan immediately remembered, "Brother, you are still outside the temple, but the outer temple also has a good place." "Yes, but they are all wrapped up by the ban. Brother, go ahead to the right." Xiaodan remembers that there is a medicine garden in that direction. "Brother, the ban there is very dangerous, brother is careful." The conversation between the two could be heard in Chi Changjai, but Xiaodan's memory was revived at the moment of Guanjian's time, and it was now a plug-in for them to explore the temple. Before they came, they didn't hear anyone say that the temple is divided into the inner temple and the outer temple, thinking that the temple is one, which is the area they are exploring right now. "Xiaodan, has the inner temple been opened yet?" "The entrance to the inner temple is don't you need conditions?" "Yeah, I remembered the 2 iron that I got back then." Could it be that they were used in the inner hall? Guyao remembered the things they had always left behind. One was obtained in the lower realm, and the other was in Jing, what was obtained from the ruins of Yueshengxian. The various forces who went there at that time should not only be looking for the elixir, but also the black ball. That is to say, those forces actually knew the use of the iron ball and knew that there were inner and outer palaces. Yes, the inner hall is not enough for anyone to enter, and a certificate is required. The inner hall has not been opened yet, and my brother will know when it is opened. That's good, as long as you don't miss it. Guyao didn't pay too much attention to other things. Since he came in, and there was a plug-in like Xiaodan, wouldn't it be a legacy if he didn't enter the inner hall for a while? On the way to Yeyuanzi, Xiaodan reminded Guyao and Qi Changjai from time to time, and the two of them were surprised when they heard his words, because in Xiaodan's mouth, there were some restrictions and dangers, and they could blast a monk at the peak of the emperor level. It seems that they had underestimated the danger of the temple before. Guyao's soul power opened up, and he did sense a heart-pounding danger in several places. It should be the place where Xiaodan said that there is a very dangerous and forbidden place. If there is no Xiaodan to guide the way, they can't get here, because whether it is the sense of the soul or what the eyes see, there is no way ahead, but they still come in. On the way, several prohibitions that were not too dangerous were broken, so that they could continue to walk. After walking carefully for half an hour, the scenery in front of them changed, and the medicine garden in Xiaodan's mouth was exposed in their field of vision. It's really a medicine garden, Gu Yejing was overjoyed. What he lacked the most was top-quality materials. Those materials he had exchanged before, he didn't know how many pots of pills he could make. However, at a glance, there were at least hundreds of them. It just grows at will as if it is worthless, and there are several plants that look very different. Guyao suspects that it should be the same as the divine plant that appeared in the Pill Immortal mansion. He and Qi Changjai were imprisoned at the time, and they didn't know the birth of the gods, but after listening to Luo Yang and the others talking about things they didn't know, they knew that the gods were divided up by the three emperor-level high-level alchemists, especially the performance of Shuiye Luo surprised them when they heard it. Guyao was pleasantly surprised, but Qi Changjai was much more cautious. There is no breath here, is it all covered by the ban? If you want to get these fairy grass plants, do you have to break the ban first? Once the ban is broken, is it still possible to hide here? Guyao woke up instantly. Xiaodan scratched his head, it seems so. Guyao and Qi Changjai glanced at each other. Once the aura leaked, they would immediately attract the soil repairing outside, so the two quickly made a decision to give up the divine product and focus on the top fairy grass. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 779. Guyao quickly picked a location. This location is far away from the four sacred plants, but the top-tier immortal grass there is extremely rare, which is exactly what he lacks. At the same time, he called out both the cubs and Mou, and it was quicker for everyone to work together. The effect of the gods on them is actually limited, because neither of them has reached the peak of the immortal emperor, but these top-level immortal grasses are the most utilized, and they dare to conclude that the restrictions there are more effective than the top-level immortal grasses here. Great, maybe they have recruited all the cultivators outside before they can get a product, and they are likely to be empty-handed in the end. Go. Guyao gave orders, and the two young men attacked at the same time. The restrictions on the four top-tier fairy grasses burst into bursts of light, but they only persisted for a while, and then collapsed with a bang. The two young men were almost at the same time. Take out the immortal plants inside, and finally collect them into Guyao's hands. At the moment when the ban collapsed, the fragrance belonging to the top-tier immortal plants spread rapidly, and the perception of the emperor-level bosses was very keen, especially there were several emperor-level alchemists here, and they were quick to disperse the smell. You can tell which top-tier immortal plant Qingxiang belongs to. There are a total of 4 top-tier fairy grasses, and they are the best of the top-tier ones. Could it be that a fairy plant garden has been discovered? What are you waiting for? There is a fairy plantation garden, maybe there is a plant hidden in it, let's go. Swish, when some monks were still hesitating, several figures flew over the temple and flew in the direction of the fragrance. Several monks were fighting for an acquired lingbao, and the fragrance lifted their spirits, and then 2 of them gave up the acquired lingbao. Go in the same direction. If there is an immortal planting garden, it means that there may be more than one top-level immortal grass in it, and it is more likely that a plant will appear. This value is far more than an acquired spiritual treasure. If it is a congenital spiritual treasure, it will be more hesitant. So what are you waiting for? It's important to rush to the Xianzi garden to grab the Xianzu. The three emperor-level high-level alchemists rushed over without any words. If they want to become top-level alchemists, they don't need top-level immortal grass to practice their skills. This consumption is not 1 or 2 emperor-level peak bosses. Affordable. They didn't forget that there is a biggest competitor now. If it's a step too late, most of the top-tier fairy grass may fall into Guyao's hands. Previously, Guyao had gathered dozens or even more top-tier immortal grasses in a short period of time by selling medicinal herbs, making them all envious and jealous. Guyao and Qi Changjai raced against time, and there was a loud bang. When the first cultivator arrived, the two of them had broken through more than 20 restrictions and obtained more than 20 top-tier fairy grasses. Someone came, but no one went to see that person, and continued to break the next restriction, which seemed to be very violent. The first cultivator to arrive was from the demon world. First, he was overjoyed. For demon cultivators, even if they didn't make pills, swallowing them raw would be more efficient than human cultivators. Cannot be moved. God plant. Haha, I'm coming too. Without hesitation, he rushed towards one of the plants, and he attacked with a bang rumbling. However, the prohibition outside the plant burst out with a dazzling light, and the demon was repaired to backlashed back, but the demon cultivator not only did not give up, but instead increased his attack. Guyao and Qi Changjai were overjoyed. All right, let's go grab the gods, don't try to grab them. And as expected, the restrictions on the outside of the gods are stronger. Once the restrictions are not broken, it will cause a rebound of the restrictions. The second cultivator came. Seeing that cultivator was vomiting blood and desperately attacking the ban outside the gods, his eyes suddenly turned red, and he roared to hit the idea of another gods. The third cultivator came, and was ecstatic at first, but quickly analyzed the situation of Xianzi garden, turned away from the positions of Guyao and Qi Changjai, and focused on the top-level fairy grass here like them. While attacking the ban, they laughed in their hearts. The two idiots attacked the ban of Shenzhou after they couldn't think of it. Seeing that Guyao and Qi Changjai gave up, they knew that Shenzhou's idea was not easy to fight. It is better to hurry up and get a few more tops. Step fairy grass. Haha, the ancient alchemist really deserves to be a top-level alchemist. If you ask Gu alchemist to find an immortal plant garden so quickly, I will be very welcome, not too much for him. In a blink of an eye, more than 30 emperor-level masters gathered here, and the monks who had the idea of the plant began to cooperate, because one person could not attack for a long time. As for the ownership of the plant after the attack, it depends on who has the greater ability, and no one has come to grab the immortal steppe grass for the time being, and they are all separate actions. Under the siege of 2 peak bosses and several emperor-level masters, a god strain finally collapsed with a bang, but the battle also started at this moment. An emperor-level monk with a slightly weaker cultivation base was punched, golden blood spilled down, but Guyao and Qi Changjai didn't even have time to sympathize. They were still trying their best to break the ban, and there was a thought in their hearts, hurry up, hurry up. What does the life and death of others have to do with them? The breath of the gods has attracted several top bosses. Seeing the gods in the fairy plant garden, their eyes are red, and the fairy plant garden is in chaos. Some monks who did not participate in the competition for plants were affected and had to stay away. Battle center. There was another loud noise of boom. The ownership of the first divine plant has not yet been determined, and the second divine plant has appeared in the world again. You bastard, leave the gods behind. A loud roar sounded over the Xianzi garden, and a ray of blood appeared and disappeared. A cultivator even burnt blood essence recklessly and ran away with the gods. Chase out several monks. Haha, I want this plant of the gods. As soon as the voice sounded, there was a rumbling, and a magic monk waved his hand and exploded two corpse puppets. The destruction of the top-tier fairy grass also caused a ban on the entire fairy plantation garden. Guyao and Chi-Changjai quickly dodged in shock, only to see a peak boss accidentally punched in the front and vomited blood by the explosion. Old corpse demon, take a break. Another plant was taken away, it was the corpse demon emperor, and two peak masters were taken away to chase down the remaining two plants. The competition became more intense, and nearly 100 top plants were harvested in a short period of time. Guyao and Chi-Changjai of steppe immortal grass resolutely withdrew. If they don't leave, they may also get involved in the Battle of Shenzhou. Even if they don't want to, some people will not see them stand by, or think they want to be that yellow bird. Put away MOU, call on the cub, and the two quickly flashed. At first, there were two peak bosses who were really afraid of the strength of these two people, but they didn't expect them to go so easily. After being captured by them, they sighed inwardly that these two young juniors were decisive and gave up the divine plant directly, but their harvest was not necessarily smaller than that of a divine plant. Just facing the gods, how many people can resist the temptation? Although the two peak bosses admired the decisiveness and determination of the two, they still chose Shenzhou, and the sky above the fairy plantation garden, where big moves are frequent, has become the most fierce battle on the periphery of the temple. Guyao and Chi-Changjai looked back and saw that there were quite a lot of people here. Elders from the Dragon and Phoenix clans also participated. The two of them overheard a few words. Shenzhou has the effect of prolonging life, and some peak masters live. It's been too long, so the temptation of Shenzhou is even greater for them, and the top-tier fairy grass may not have much value in their eyes. The two were far apart, and Gu Shan sighed, will there be an emperor-level peak this time? Chi-Changjai chuckled lightly, maybe there is, for some monks, the value of the divine plant is more than the innate spiritual treasure. The two of them are relatively easy, although others know that they have obtained a lot of top-tier immortal grass, and if they are harvested outside, if they rob them, they may gain more than this trip to the temple, but they really like these top-tier grasses. Immortal grass, but they know that they are not their opponents. Besides, instead of robbing, they have taken revenge and let a top-level alchemist think about it. This is not worth the loss. Therefore, battles broke out frequently in the early stage of the emperor level and the middle stage of the emperor level, but these two people gained so much but stayed out of it. Since the inner hall has not been opened, the two continue to explore the outer hall. Of course, it didn't happen every time. After Ziodan pointed them to a place, the two of them worked hard to open the restriction, but it was empty long ago, but it also proved one thing, that is, the temple was opened before, and it was long ago. Visited. This is. The two followed Ziodan's guidance and came to another place, but the danger might hide the opportunity. One side is extremely hot, the other side is extremely cold, leaving the middle aisle is safer, but the monk walks on the aisle, it is like walking on an extremely dangerous cliff, and it is possible to fall down at any time. Both the Dragon Emperor and the Phoenix Emperor are here, and there are several acquaintances, such as Luo Yang and Hu Su, who came to greet them when they saw them appear. I heard that there is an immortal plant garden outside, it won't have anything to do with you. I heard that there are 4 divine plants inside, and they are fighting fiercely, Luo Yang said casually. Although people are here, the situation outside is not the same. No, nothing. Guyao nodded with a smile, yes, we walked around casually, but we didn't expect to find a fairy plantation garden. The was too fierce, and we didn't participate. It's right if you don't participate. Some old guys have red eyes when they see that kind of thing. Whoever robs them will kill them. But it doesn't matter, don't look at them being robbed now, but who knows if they can survive or not. Take it out, maybe you will end up making a wedding dress for someone else. By the way, this is a place where extreme heat and extreme cold converge. It should be caused by humans. They are confined here, but there will be outbreaks from time to time, and then some good things will rush out. This is what everyone is waiting for. Opportunity. In other places, it is rare to have such an extreme environment. It can be said that this is the hottest and coldest place in the immortal demon world, and there is a great chance of good things. Some things can be refined casually after you get them. Maybe they are acquired or even innate spiritual treasures. Attribute and water attribute monks are also very helpful. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 780. Just as Luo Yang and Husu were explaining the situation here, there was a muffled sound in the extremely hot area, and the cultivator who was walking on the middle passage shouted and withdrew. "No, there's another riot." As soon as he finished speaking, he saw fire dragons and phoenixes spew out from the sea of fire in the extreme heat region, and countless tongues of flame were ejected, and the riot in the extreme heat region caused the other side of the extreme cold region to become unstable, and the cold wave began. When the eruption erupted, Guyao and Qi Changjai, who were still outside, could also feel the suffocating breath rolling over. Danger and opportunity go hand in hand. This is a good saying. The extreme heat and extreme cold are mixed together. I am afraid that the peak of Xianjun will not be able to resist, either being swallowed by the sea of fire or becoming a part of the extreme cold region, and now, a monk at the early stage of the emperor level desperately gave up half of his body before withdrawing from the cold wave, but soon, Guyao and Qi Changjai discovered that there was something in the fire dragon and fire phoenix and the cold wave. Needless to say, the monks who stayed here, etc. It's these things. After a few swipes, several peak and late stage masters were dispatched. With their strength, as long as they didn't go too deep into the areas on both sides, it would be no problem to save their lives. Guyao saw that the fastest movement was not others, but Feng Huang Fengjia Hua. Compared with other cultivators, he had an innate advantage. As soon as he approached the sea of fire, he transformed into a phoenix and shuttled among the erupting fire dragons and phoenixes. After he shuttled, those fire dragons and fire phoenixes exploded immediately, turning into little sparks. In addition to these, the two also saw that there were monks igniting fire and cold waves coming out from the outside to temper the spiritual treasure. The conditions here are excellent, and it is said that they cannot improve their magical treasure by a small order. Qi Changjai also saw the scene and said, "How about tempering your glass bottle? It should improve it." Guyao laughed when he talked about the glass bottle. It wasn't that he should be able to improve it, but he definitely could. Because the glass bottle got used to it, he didn't want to change other magic weapons. Just when he was hesitating whether to give up, there was an encirclement and suppression incident on the Void Beast battlefield. In addition to getting a lot of void grass, Guyao also got some top-quality refining materials, but put all these refining materials into the glass bottle bingo. At that time, the elders of Katang all thought that Guyao was too wasteful. Those refining materials alone could create more than one acquired spiritual treasure, but Guyao only wanted to improve the glass bottle. The elders of Katang helped a little, and finally after smashing a lot of materials, I barely raised the glass bottle to the level of an acquired spiritual treasure. Guyao often used lotus heart fire to temper glass bottles, but the time was too short, and the quality did not improve too much, but now the large sea of fire here is not the best place for tempering. Also, I see if I can let the lotus heart fire enter it. Guyao is still working on the idea of the glass bottle. If the things that erupt in the sea of fire are integrated into the glass bottle, will it further improve its quality? After all, the glazed bottle has been with him for so long, and as the rank increases, it will definitely be more suitable for him than other spiritual treasures. At this stage, even if you get the innate spirit treasure, if you don't cultivate a tacit understanding for a long time, the innate spirit treasure can only exert 80% of its power, but if the glass bottle is raised, it may be able to exert 200% power. That's the difference. Guyao and Qi Changjai lacked everything, but they lacked time. What it takes to cultivate tacit understanding is time. Be careful. After a quarter of an hour, the riots subsided. Although it subsided, but seeing the turbulent appearance in the sea of fire and the cold wave, you knew that it was still extremely dangerous. At this time, the number of monks who came to temper the magic weapon increased. The action doesn't seem so special anymore. Ancient alchemist, Fen Yuhua came over. This is something I just got, and it is just right for the ancient alchemist to temper the magic weapon. The other elders of the Feng clan sighed while holding their foreheads. When they saw Feng Huang walking over, they knew there would be such an attack, but they couldn't stop it. Guyao also laughed. Feng Yuhua wanted to give him any good things. This thought made Guyao very happy. He looked at the 7 or 8 spar-shaped things that Feng Yuhua was holding in his palm, and stretched out his hand. Took a piece. Is this a good thing in the extreme heat? It is clearly wrapped in the hottest energy, but in the palm of the hand, it is only warm, which can be described as the miracle of the Creator. Fen Yuhua explained with a smile, this is Ji Xinjing, which corresponds to chilling heart essence, but there are differences in grades. Those outside are the worst grades. The more you go inside, the better, but the more dangerous it is. Great, apart from the master of the temple, maybe there are no monks in the fairy and demon world who can penetrate deep into it. He can't, neither can he take office as Feng Huang. This is what he told him in his inherited memory. In addition to being helpful to fire attribute monks, Ji Xinjing is also used as a magic weapon to improve fire attribute. Feng Yuhua sent her palm forward again, knowing that Guyao was going to temper his magic weapon. Feng Yuhua felt that these in his hand were still a little short, and he was going to grab some more later. Guyao smiled, there is another function, that is, it can be used to improve the abnormal fire. You can use it yourself. I will try it myself and see if I can collect some. If it doesn't work, I will help me with Long Yet. Qi Changjai, who was on the side, raised his eyebrows at Feng Huang, and asked Feng Huang to do it. Didn't he look like he was very incompetent? Feng Huang was stunned, and then laughed. Okay, then I will put it away first. This emperor does not dare to underestimate Qi Xian. Emperor. Guyao also raised his eyebrows. The person who became Feng Huang was a little different. The little stupid bird in the past would not say such things in front of Qi Changjai. While others were not paying attention, when Guyao was tempering the glass bottle, he also quietly sent the lotus heart fire into the extremely hot area. He tried carefully on the edge first, and the lotus heart fire came back with a very comfortable feeling, which showed that the different fire was completely. He can enter the extreme heat, but he can also feel that Lian Xinhuo cannot leave him too far, because his consciousness cannot enter it, and if he is too far away, he is afraid that Lian Xinhuo will return without him. It's not worth it. Guyao has a dual purpose. While using the Katang elders to teach himself the method to temper the glass bottle, he controls the lotus heart fire to swim in the sea of fire, testing the farthest distance he can control the lotus heart fire. After this limit is determined, he will let Lian Xinhuo start collecting Ji Xinjing. Ji Xinjing, as its name suggests, seems to be the heart of a flame. The outside is wrapped in layers of flames, and the temperature increases as you go inside. If it wasn't for the riots that caused the flames to burst, these Ji Xinjings would be very difficult. Fly out. 1, 2, Lotus Heart Fire collected 7 or 8 pieces and then came back, and sent Ji Xinjing into the glass bottle. On the other side, Qi Changjai is also waiting for the riot moment, and while waiting, he is also using the flames on the edge of the extreme heat to forge his body. Once the riot starts, he rushes out to Ji Xinjing and cold heart essence, which he can't use. But it can be exchanged for immortal stones, or it can be brought back for other people to use. The two stayed here for a long time. Luo Yang and Hu Su had already gained something and achieved their goals. They said goodbye to Guyao Chi and went to explore other places. After that, the Dragon and Phoenix clans also came to Guyao and them. Farewell, Fen Yuhua left with confidence because he saw that Chi was more adaptable to the Sea of Fire than himself, so he could leave with confidence, and he also knew that there was a strange fire on Guyao. The monks changed batch after batch, and Guyao didn't know how many heart-burning crystals he had melted in the glass bottle. The glass bottle finally shone brightly in the Sea of Fire, which attracted the eyes of the monks here. This is innate spiritual treasure. No, it's still a bit lacking, but after a while of nurturing, you won't be able to become a congenital spiritual treasure. The most valuable thing is that this was improved by the ancient magic weapon tempering of the ancient alchemist, and it can definitely be in his hands. To exert maximum power, it is not bad to say that it is a congenital spiritual treasure. The value of this glass bottle in Guyao's hands is definitely greater than the innate spiritual treasure found in the temple. They are envious of each other. Pieces of Lingbao can't play any role, because it has an owner. Guyao stretched out his hand, and the bright and clear glass bottle fell into his hand. The bottle was drawn with incomparably mysterious lines, which made the glass bottle reveal a mysterious atmosphere. It was really changed. The previous glass bottle gave him a kind of cumbersome feeling. The current glass bottle has been reborn, looks very light, but its power has increased several times. Guyao loved it into his dantian and continued to warm it up. The glass bottle had followed him not long after he came to the fairyland, so among the magic weapons, except for the Dan Pavilion, he had the deepest affection for the glass bottle. Now that the glass bottle has been promoted, he also don't worry about the day you give up. Looking around, he wanted to find an opponent to test the power of the new glass bottle, but the cultivator he saw involuntarily took a step back. Guyao laughed a few times, and Chi spoke up. Went. The two disappeared, and the monk here wiped away the sweat. I didn't expect that the ancient alchemist was still such an ancient alchemist. The gaze just now was very intimidating. I was really worried that the ancient alchemist would make a move if he disagreed. Master Gu is looking for someone to try the power of the glass bottle. That spiritual treasure, in my opinion, is very dangerous. The ancient alchemist is dangerous, and Immortal Emperor Qi is swept aside. How many people in this temple are willing to face them? Everyone was in a false alarm, but Guyao was in a very happy mood. Not only did the quality of the glass bottle improve, but the lotus heart fire also swallowed a lot of heart crystals in the Sea of Fire. Haruka has a feeling of self-confidence, and feels that he can be a top boss. Not only was he full of self-confidence, but his luck was also bursting, which made him and Chi bump into a guy, the corpse demon emperor, and their eyes lit up when they thought of the divine plant on him.